Beautiful people. Welcome back to another episode of Conversations Unleashed. It is Michael Bonner here. Listen, I hope you're doing well. It is Monday, September the 8th. I hope all of you are well. If you're listening to this in the morning on the car ride to school, or if you're listening on the treadmill, wherever you are at, happy fresh week to you. Thank you all for your support as always. If you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure that you like this, comment under here on YouTube. If you're on Apple or Spotify, don't forget to rate the podcast. People, okay, this gives me the data I need to make sure you have the best experience, but I want to thank y'all all for being here. This week, if you're listening, I sound a little different. I'm in a different place. I'm currently at one of my self-care spots. I planned this trip, let's say about, that's why you hear that car, say about 3 months ago. Therapy has taught me to be proactive about how you love on yourself. So I could not wait to get to this place, especially after starting up school, trying to get back in the groove and spending so much time with all of you during the summer. So today's episode, I'm going to be very vulnerable. I want to be very transparent, and I'm going to be very raw. So I'm glad that you're here. And the subtitle of this episode is called "Who Do You Have to Become?" And I want to have fun with this. So oblige me. I'm going to pace myself with this. Please excuse any loud revving of the noise you may hear from these loud supercars. People just living their best life. So let's get into it. So let's have fun with this episode. And I've learned that vulnerability and transparency is really good for people to help them grow. So I want to talk about this, right? There's a quote that I found. This guy was speaking. It didn't have his name, but it was one of those, Instagram, TikTok videos that goes. And he says something along the lines of, it's not about becoming a millionaire. It's about who do you have to become in order to become a millionaire. It's not about becoming a millionaire. It's about who do you have to become in order to become a millionaire? And I allowed that quote to sit with me because if you think about it, everybody wants to be financially well off. But when you ask people, do they do a budget? People are quiet. And the funny thing about that is if you look at any Fortune 500 company, Apple, Meta, Tesla, NVIDIA, AMD, every quarter they release their balance sheet, which allows us to know how much money they have, how much debt they have, etc. If trillion-dollar companies are doing that, who are we not to do that, right? And I laugh because when you think about that quote, people underestimate who do you really have to become to achieve what you're trying to achieve. And I'm at this stage now where I'm thinking about all of those things. For example, I think about LeBron James, right? He's my favorite player. And when I think about how much he sacrificed, I saw a post about how much time he's away from his family just to make sure he's performing on the court to provide the legacy that he's built. I think about another person I admire deeply, which is Robert F. Smith, one of the richest black men in the world, worth about plus $5 billion, right? In my mind, when I look at people's success, I automatically look at and think about what sacrifices did you make to get there? Like, what did you have to give up? What did you lose to become who you are? And I've been working, y'all, this platform you see, I've been working on it for 7 years, but I've been a teacher for 13 years, and I've been hustling for a while, and there's always some type of challenge, some type of goal. And one thing I do understand now is that whenever you're trying to do something beautiful, absolutely incredible, you have to make sure you're being realistic in the understanding of what sacrifice will I have to make? What will I have to give up? What will I have to go forward and really chase after aggressively? And y'all, it's a lonely path. The journey to achieving your goals based on whatever you set out there can be lonely because only you can see it. Only you know what God has placed on your heart to do. So one of the things I want to talk about right now is this, right? There's no question I am a teacher. I teach at the Ron Clark Academy in Atlanta, Georgia. I love teaching at the Ron Clark Academy. I love my students. I love the families. Y'all, I teach 4th grade social studies and 6th grade reading at the wonderful school. I'm so thankful to my administration team, Ron Clark, Kim Bearden, Junior Burnett, Dr. V, everybody on the the finance side is running the nonprofit, Kirk Brown and Danny and everyone, all of my colleagues. I have tremendous respect for all of you. One of the things I take personal is my performance. Now, I want to be very frank and very honest and very clear with you on this. I still teach, okay? Ellen was in 2017. I am still a teacher now. I am still inside of the classroom. And it's something I do with pride. It's something I enjoy doing because it's like I have to prove myself. Once again, it is no shade to anyone who does not teach and speak, but I like teaching and speaking because I feel like my results from teaching gives me the credibility even more. Now, since I turned 35, y'all know I like to be a little bit more honest with you. So a part of it as well is I still teach is because I have to. God has been so good to me with my career and what I've done, but there are microaggressions and things out there that I still have to produce and work just as hard versus my counterparts who may not be in the classroom at all and probably are booked more than I am. Now, I'm not talking about anybody specifically, I'm just talking about the blanket keynote industry in general. So every year I step into the classroom, I'm automatically thinking about who do I have to become? And it takes me a minute to adjust. We've been in school for 2 weeks now, so I've had to, ease myself back in. But this year, talking to the leadership team, looking at the parent survey, being a 6th grade reading teacher, literacy is something that I'm really starting to have a really true passion about. And one of the things I'm really focusing and honing in on this year is my reading scores. Now, I want to be clear about this because you can argue if a person can speak all day, and I can get on stage with the gift that God has given me and do an incredible job, but I don't want to be on stage speaking to all of you and providing strategies and motivation, but I don't have any data to show that what I'm doing is working, right? And I think we're in this era now where we've let it slide for too long. And even if you don't have to have the best data, just the fact of you're trying to produce results. So last year, my kids killed it. Oh my gosh. Shout out to the incredible class of 2027. All of the students in that classroom, they absolutely destroyed it. On iReady is what we utilize. It averages 100% growth to determine annual growth for the class. That class reached 300% growth. We had one student, I got to shout her out, Zaria Burbank, who won the award from my classroom for reading. She grew 900%. Those children are incredible. But let me tell you something, that was last year. I have a whole new batch of kids this year, and one thing I want to focus on is how can I produce the same results? Now, if you've heard me this summer or hear me get a speech, there's a quote by James Clear from the Atomic Habits, and he says, goals are for people who only want to win once, systems are for those who want to win repeatedly. And I have some systems I want to put into place with my students this year, but this is the thing that I think is going to become very interesting, everybody, is this. I have to produce. You are judged by the value that you bring to the world. You're also paid by the amount of value you bring to a space. So for me personally, I know in order to produce value, well, I have to show what I'm doing is working. But we have a dilemma. On iReady, my kids absolutely crushed it. On the other standardized assessment they took, they did okay, right? But the iReady data is light years. It's incredible. So I've come across an issue as a teacher, right? The issue is, as you heard, I use the curriculum from iReady to instruct my students, to teach them. But at the end of the year, they're assessed on something different. So for me, I can't complain about it because I can't control who will assess them or which test they will take inside of high school or any of that, right? All I can do is make sure they're prepared. So that is the one thing that I'm thinking about. What are some things I'm gonna have to sacrifice this year in order to make sure the kids grow exponentially? I'm thinking about in my lessons right now, what are some things I'm gonna have to pull time away from? And what are some things I'm gonna have to add, systems I'm gonna add? So I'm gonna give you 2 things I'm going to do. One thing academically and one thing socio-emotionally for my students to ensure that we grow this year. The first thing is this. If I utilize iReady, right, for teaching the instruction, but I don't know which assessment they will use at our school to assess the kids at the end of the year, which is, I don't want to even teach to the test. What I can do is I can use iReady, correct? But here it is. I told you you can't get away from it. I'm gonna utilize AI to make me more efficient. So what am I gonna do? If I know and am aware of some type of form of questions they will face towards the end of the year, middle of the year, I can therefore take that same type of question, put it inside of ChatGPT, Gemini, and I want to create as much repetition with those questions as they can. I want them to be super comfortable. And I think you don't really need luck when you're prepared. I think a good example of that would be if a person is training for the Olympics and they're constantly being stretched running a 200, but they're practicing running the 200, but they're going to run the 100, right? There's wisdom in that, because if you keep practicing with the 200 with stamina and endurance, when it's time to run the 100, it's cake work, it's easy. So I want to be able to make sure that I'm providing a level of rigor, a level of challenge to my students, y'all, with iReady and the things that we're doing, but also utilizing AI to make sure I increase that repetition. So during the typical week, we may go through 2 passages, maybe 3, but now what I can do is we can still use those 2 or 3 passages, but the types of questions, I want to give them double the amount of questions, double the amount of modeling, so that when it comes down to this assessment, whatever they may take, it's Mr. Bonner, we've been doing this since such and such. I think that's going to be important. And I want to challenge all of you to adapt and shift your stuff as well. I want to be very transparent with you. This modern technology and time that we're in right now, if you haven't paid attention to it, the shift is already happening. 300,000 black women have been laid off since the beginning of this year. Entry-level jobs are already being cut. The unemployment rate for students graduating from college has ranged from 6% to 13%, even though the standard unemployment rate is 4%. So the shift in things are already happening. So what you're going to have to be able to do, family, is you're going to have to figure out a way to make sure that you're bringing exponential value to your place. You have to figure out how to bring exponential value to wherever you are serving. You don't want to be the person that's the dead weight. Every person that I work with, whether they are a teacher or staff, is absolutely incredible. In fact, they always hold their weight. And personally, everyone, I don't want to be the one that drags everybody down. So I think it's important, just as a point in this podcast episode, for you to reflect, to think about, how can I make myself better? How can I make myself more efficient? And only you can answer that. And what I would like to encourage you to do when you're answering those things, move beyond beliefs, beyond goals. And I need you to start thinking about systems that you can put into place that would therefore make you that more dynamic. Right? So I told you the system for me, I gave you with the reading passages 2 to 3, I'm going to double the questions. A system I have in my class I'm doing this year now is that my kids lead the discussion after a passage and text that we read. I sit back and take notes and listen for deep connections. But the last one that I told you, we're going to utilize AI to increase the repetition. But the second thing I want us to stop ignoring, y'all, people are struggling right now. Okay? I don't want you to underestimate what life is doing to people. If you pay attention to the market, I do. I pay attention to the stock market, the jobs, economy, all this stuff. I just like it. I think it's just something I like looking at. The last 4 months in the economy, jobs have actually been decreasing for the first time ever. We have more unemployed people than job openings, right, in a long time, first time in a long time. So people are hurting. The finances is tight for different individuals in different classes. And what I want to encourage you to do is, more than ever, whether you are an educator or whether you are inside of corporate America or whether you are building your own business or whatever the case may be, you have to think about the emotional and mental stability and flexibility and fluidity of people at this point in time. So even in my classroom this year, I am going to push them so hard, but with the academic pushing, I'm also in my mind programming and building systems. For example, there needs to be some type of safety net and safe space and fun in my class that they know we're going to work hard, but they'll have a moment that they just breathe. So one thing I want to do, I'm really excited about it. I'm going to make sure I post it online. I want to start something new called the Wall of Love. And what's going to happen is, just like I'm sitting here on this balcony, I want to select the kid from the week that's been killing it. The kid will sit here in front of the seat, right? But if you're on YouTube, you can see it. If you're listening in the car, just visualize with me. If you're driving in the car, don't close your eyes and visualize, all right? So what's going to happen is the kid's going to sit in the seat, right? And we're going to select them. And for 5 minutes, I'm going to use the application Padlet, and I'm going to cut up some really dope music, right? Some feel-good stuff. And the kids in the class are going to type one thing they love about that kid for the week. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna print that off, give a copy to the kid, email a copy to the parents. But think about that. That child, every child will be picked, for sure. Because I'm setting the expectation that you have to have good character to get inside of that seat, to get some love shown to you, because you can't model for them to act however you want to act and then still expect to receive love. That's a weird thing. But what I want to do is make sure that every kid has something they can point to, an artifact, their family, that my babies loved in Mr. Bonner's classroom. And what is it doing, if I'm being honest with you, is it giving me more credibility to push them even more. So when I get on them, they know I can get on them because they know I love them. I tell them all the time. I was playing with 4th grade last week. I had this phrase in my class. I say, I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And so that's gonna be like a new call or response I do. I'm gonna be like, hey, I love you. And they're gonna be like, hey, there's nothing you can do about it, right? Or nothing we can do about it. But I'm big on that. In my first book, I wrote relationships before content. And I'm a firm believer in that. You can get people to work for you in a basic level, but we know the best leaders and the best curators of energy are those that can tap in emotionally and psychologically with the very people that they're working with and helping. And if you really wanna make a lead in 2025, you have to ensure that you're building those connections with the people. So who do you have to become? I have to become a different version of myself this year in my year 13, inside of the classroom. I have to stretch myself because I'm taking this year personal in a healthy way, because some people can say it's imposter syndrome, some people can say whatever, but one thing I love to take on for me, everybody, is I want to make sure that when people look at me, they can say, yeah, he can speak, and he's great in the community, and he's a great son and a great friend. But I want people to be able to say, but that black man, that young, energetic, kind, loving, firm black man, he can teach his behind off. And I like that, because this is something I fell into. I thought I was going to play in the NBA, y'all, and here I am, being an educator at a beautiful school that I love being at. So thank you for listening to this episode. This week is a real one. Hopefully it starts a conversation for you, because we all have things that we want to work on and things that we take dear and personal to us. And in those things that you're working on, I want you to be real with you, all right? This is Conversations Unleashed. We are family here, and I want you to be clear that who do you have to become to achieve what you're trying to get to? That's why I laugh when I see some boys and some young ladies and friends of mine and men, they're like, hey, I want to be married. Okay, well, who do you have to become to have a successful marriage? Who do you have to become in order to become a millionaire? Who do you have to become in order to be a business owner? Who do you have to become in order to be a good parent? Who do you have to become in order to be a true follower in whatever you believe in? Think about that, all right? As always, I tell y'all every time I can, I love you. I appreciate you. If no one's told you this week, I'm proud of you. I believe in you. It is September going into October. For those that can't even tell anybody about the great things you're doing, hey, I'm proud of you. And I want you to make it a good week. Don't let no stupidity get in your way. I like how Jolene JC from the Come Up series with Mark Monroe, she says, let no thing get in your way. And I want you to make it a great week, because you deserve that. Okay? You deserve to have a very powerful week. All right? So take care of yourself. I'm about to keep decompressing, and I want to work on my restoration process. Here's a gem for you. In therapy, I learned last week, there's a difference between rest and restoration. So I'm trying to put in little systems to restore myself when I'm not in that classroom on stage. So I love y'all. Take care of yourself. Have a good week. And this is definitely water. Okay? I just spilled it out. Take care. And don't forget, y'all know I forgot, legacy over likes. Peace.